Well, thank you everyone for joining from your various corners of the world. It's fantastic to have so much interest in the subject matter that we're here to talk about. I'm joined today by Travis and Charlie. My name is Claire. I'm Commercial Director at Essential in the UK. And Travis is joining us from LMS 365 and Charlie from Essential as well as one of our subject matter experts. What we're hoping to convey today is how it's possible to build a learning platform, a learning portal or a university on your existing Microsoft technology. So using Teams and SharePoint and really building into how users are working in their everyday lives. So not just from your traditional learning management perspective, as in delivering line of business training, for example, but there's also a lot more that you can do with it that we're really only starting to uncover through our customers and through our own usage in the last year or so. Things like being able to deliver quickly and reasonably easily safety training for returning to work after COVID-19, for example, what that looks like, being able to share policy, have people read and sign off on that, and really bringing a very diverse, what is now, from what we're hearing, very remote businesses together in a single place. So now that the change has happened from an office to remote working predominantly, that will ebb and flow, I'm sure, over the next year or few months. But having a remote platform, having a learning platform that's built in Teams and SharePoint really enables a business to have a single place to share information, collaborate and learn. And also use things like the Microsoft learning resources. And I think we'll probably touch on that during the session today, but Microsoft have a huge amount of learning resources around Office 365 applications that users might want to use. And our platform integrates brilliantly with that. Usually we like to start these sessions off with asking a question to you guys to get the conversation going and flowing. And that is, how do you support a digital learning culture in your workplace? We'd really like to hear from you in the Q&A to sort of kick this session off. I will stop now and hand over to Travis and Charlie to pick up the conversation, and I'll speak to you all at the end.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Claire. And this is what the question's all about, is how can we use our existing technology or any other technology out there to support this digital learning culture within an organization. I'm not sure if there's anybody here today who has some tips or some real life work best practices which they want to share with the others. But if we don't get any answers right now, then I think we'll just jump forward and we can, as you're able to type them in, we can take them at the end as well. So I don't know, Charles, do you have any insight you'd like to share about this question?
Well, I think as you sort of alluded to there, it does vary depending on those real use cases, depending on the culture of the business, the industry that they're in. I know it's all been accelerated, it seems. A lot of this has been accelerated given the wider circumstances, given the COVID and the fact that, as Claire alluded to as well, a lot of people have been forced down this digitization route of a lot of the learning practices that are in place. Certainly conversations I'm having pretty much on a daily basis, people saying that they've been affected one way or another by that. Now, how do they support it? Well, there's a couple of ways they can do it. Travis, you're obviously going to explain a few that we've got natively, and obviously LMS 365 is one way that using, and we've got a couple of people on the call joined that are customers and using LMS 365 already as well. So they're in a good place. But there's a whole host of ways, and actually we're getting some answers through in the chat, Travis. So we'll just click through here. So I'll have to scroll up a little bit here. So Debbie says we're just about to build an external SharePoint and LMS. So they're in the process of looking at building one. It'd be interesting to explore that further and understand how exactly you guys are going to go about doing that. There's one from David there as well. They're in the process of implementing Microsoft Teams within the organization. I think that's a really common story at the moment, and I think that's another one, Travis, which I'm sure you'll allude to, the mass amount of uptake that Microsoft have seen from Teams, given the current thing. But there's a whole host of options that you've already got, and David will explore those as well. So hopefully Travis's section will be a real benefit to you moving forward. John from Swindon, they're using Moodle. They're using a learning platform already. Wayne says, behind the times and the early stages of development using a digital platform. So he says he's a sponge today. So Wayne, hopefully you could soak up a lot of the tips, tricks, and some knowledge that we're going to show you, as well as some bits and pieces from LMS 365 as well. David also on the journey. So at the beginning, I'm guessing. So yeah, lots of varied answers there. Different stages of the journey. I can see there's a couple more down here. David McIntosh, we use LMS 365. Good choice, as Claire's put. Travis, I don't know if you want to read some of these longer ones down the bottom here from Wayne, Joe, and an anonymous comment there.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of emphasis on face-to-face courses from Joe, and they're updating their e-learning, but folk haven't been that receptive to it. They love the face-to-face discussion. So they've just rolled out Teams, and we can take a look today about what we can do within Teams in order to accommodate these needs for collaborative interactions. That's going to be my session to start out with. And another is saying an educator using Teams along with Office 365 and OneNote. And it's very exciting for the next year to see how these things are going to change. I think that's a great segue to just jump into the first section here of our presentation. That's going to be run by myself. And I just like to start with the why previously to jumping in. And here at LMS 365, we have talked with L&D people from around the world, and I do it every day, multiple times a day, and we see a pattern. And the pattern is the top opportunities and challenges that we hear, and these three are really the ones that we hear the most. And that is, how do we build a learning culture or a collaborative learning culture in terms of a digital experience, which segues into the second, and that's the digital transformation of learning. How to take everything that's great from face-to-face learning and apply this into the new normal and support remote and distributed workforces. And then the third is learning in the flow of work, which to me is just all about relevance. And this is about being able to present the relevant material to the relevant person at the relevant time. And I think that all three of these, but in particularly this last point, is just so well achieved within Microsoft Teams. So my session, what I'm going to be talking about is some of the quick and easy ways that you can make a change to your team's environment and walk away from this session today with some value. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is this concept of the modern digital workplace, which is Office 365 as we know and love it. And there's a lot of icons here. Some of these are probably not familiar to you, but all of these are parts of the Office 365 house as we see it. And here at the top, we have our LMS 365 portion of the roof, which we add on to complete this house. But my focus is going to be on the rest of the house, including the foundations here, and how we can combine all of these different apps, which you're already subscribing to and paying for, into a learning platform that can give your internal customers real value. And I'm unable to advance my slide for some reason here. Charles, can you do that for me? Thank you, sir. So while that modern digital workplace is the house, I personally consider Teams to be the office, and we might be a slightly more advanced in our use of Teams than some of you, but nowadays all of my internal correspondence and the vast majority of my external correspondence is actually happening within Teams. I'm no longer sending internal emails. I'm chatting and meeting and using Teams and channels to discuss internal topics with my colleagues. The vast majority of my meetings are virtual video calls like this. If I'm needing to follow up on those, it's within the chat of the calls. So I see myself as delivering the vast majority of the value for my business within this single platform. And it just seems like a no-brainer to also deliver learning in here and to not pull people away from where they are actually delivering the value. So that's my brief introduction. And without further ado, I am going to share my screen and jump into my teams. And as I promised, what we're going to be looking at is out-of-the-box options, which can make your teams a much better place to learn. So what we're looking at right now is the teams section of my production teams, my normal day-to-day place where I work. And we have a team created here called the Learning Center. And this is a team where the learning department can provide all of their access to all of their tools here to their users so they don't have to leave teams. And I'm going to run through some scenarios that I've been asked frequently and have made some real quick proof of concept builds to show how to do it. And the first example I'm starting with is this request that I've heard of how could we have a homepage for learning within Teams. And the literal request was, I want to have some text, I want to have an embedded video and some links. So what I did was I created this page in SharePoint, which was very simple to do. And I put a incomplete sentence for some text, and I made a very quick video using Stream. I recorded a walkthrough of this learning center showing my users how to make the most out of it. And then I also created some links going to specific highlighted pieces of training here. The next question that came after that was, how can we have an events page? So similar to this home page, but something where we're highlighting upcoming events within Teams. So we've added an events page. And again, this is a SharePoint page that I've created, and this is just simply populating upcoming events. And these could be events which you have input manually, or this could be events which are being pulled from, for instance, LMS 365 and showing the upcoming face-to-face or webinar learning events that people can register themselves to, but just giving people here within this general channel access to all of your most important information. So presuming that you guys are able to create a very quick and simple SharePoint page, how do you put it in here? Well, this is as simple as pressing the plus up here to add a tab. And in this add a tab section, you can see all of these different apps that are available. And you can just say that we want to add a SharePoint page and click onto this link and put in the URL. It's really that simple. And that will allow you to add additional content like this, like a homepage or an events page that would be relevant for you. Another request that I've heard all the time is, how can we deal with breakout sessions within a Teams meeting? And thus far, there's not a great way to do that. But what I have discovered is that for longer group learning, for onboarding sessions with a group of people who are going to be working together for multiple days, maybe a week, maybe a few weeks, a real great way to do that and to group them together, to make appointments, and also to have small groups that can be broken out and have appointments as well, is to create a team for that group of people. So I'm just going to walk you through really quick what that would look like. So let's use that onboarding example where we've got a group of 10, 20 new starters. We're just going to create a team for them. And that's as simple as saying create a team. You get the option of creating this from an existing group or build it from scratch. And then you can make it public or you could make it private. So here we're going to build it from scratch, make it private, and call it onboarding August 2020. So once we've created this team, we're then going to add the users who should be part of this team. And I'll just grab a couple examples here. We'll say that Mess and Ole are joining this team just so that you get the picture of how that works. And once we've added these members, we can close. We've got our new team here, and we can start adding channels. And the specific request was for breakout rooms. How can we have a large group of people separated into small groups? And channels are actually a really great way of doing that. So if you wanted to say that we want to add a channel, we could call it breakout 1. Then you have the ability to set privacy as well. So if you wanted to group these people into specific groups, then you would click in here and say that you want it to be private. And then you can go to the next section where you then can add users into this group. So we'll say that in this specific group, we're going to have this single user. And in a real life case, you probably have more than one, but you get the idea. And once this has been created, then we have a breakout group, which is allowing for a small subsection of this group of people to collaborate and share privately, but still being part of a larger group. And the great thing about this in an onboarding example is that you can let this team continue on. And these people who have just started all together, had some bonding experiences and some new learnings together, can continue to collaborate and share and look back on what might have been said or commented or files that have been shared. And you can foster a real great sense of community by doing it in this way. Now, the question always comes up, what about breakout sessions in a single Teams meeting session? This is a feature which Microsoft is delivering, and when that will come, I don't know. I'm hoping before the end of this year, but that is also a feature that will be coming so that when you have a single session, you can also break users within that session out into smaller groups. The last stop on sort of our out-of-the-box inspirational tour is this channel here called Social Learning. So this is a channel within my Learning Center team, and this is sort of the water cooler, allowing people to share what is most interesting to them, allowing them to comment and learn from each other. And here we have an example of Paul, who's back in April, when everybody started working from home very suddenly, found something that was really interesting to him, a TED Talk. This is just a very simple YouTube video that he's sharing. People are replying, and as an L&D team, you can use this for inspiration for upcoming content. You can borrow from some of this content, package it into an official course, and so forth. But also, if you're using LMS 365, you're able to take existing courses within the LMS and share those here as well. My goal today was to give you guys some inspiration with zero pitch. So I'm going to leave it here and hand it over to Charlie, who can talk a little bit more about what happens when we add that small piece of the roof to the Office 365 house, and what can that give you beyond what I've talked about today. So thanks for your attention, and without further ado, I'll hand over to Charlie.
So yeah, thanks, Travis. It was really interesting insight into what can be done with Teams already there, and as Travis said, it's a zero pitch thing. It's something. It's a culture thing. It's an ethos thing, and what I'm going to show you, hopefully, is how we can enhance that sort of learning platform. So my screen should be popping up, and it should look very similar to Travis's, because it is effectively a team screen, exactly the same. And we've got this learning center. Now, this is one way that we could have these teams set up. As Travis alluded to, there's a multiple ways and sort of no end in the combinations that we can process and link to and run with our internal teams. But as Travis neatly segued from his presentation, we've got this option to share our courses. These courses are uploaded within LMS 365. I have the application installed within this Teams environment here, and what this allows us to do, as Travis showed, is we can share a course here. So Ross has shared a course and tagged me in it and shared me this directly to this Teams course here. Now, I'll go into a little more detail, but just so you're aware, from this view here, I can view this course. I can actually complete this course directly from this Teams window. It's worth noting, along the top, some of the more astute and observant people in the audience may have noticed we've got a few different buttons along the top here to what Travis had, and I'm going to go into these into a little bit more detail now. So With the LMS 365 application installed, what we've got now is we've got a dashboard here we've linked to, we've got course catalog, and we've actually got this Teams training here as well. We're linking to this exact course that funny enough, that Ross has shared here as well. Now, I'll just jump into this dashboard view here within this team. Now, it's worth bearing in mind this could be a a team based on a geographical location. It could be a team based on a specific set of users internally. An actual team, a sales team, a marketing team. And what we can do is we can link to anything within the LMS 365 system along the top here. So this dashboard view, for example, is where I would come as an end user to access any of my learning. Whether this is compulsory, mandatory training, this could be as simple as, and it's a really common use case, things for compliance that maybe we have to have read and understood to be reported on from a business level or a team level to make sure we're compliant in whichever regulations or situations you may have internally. But this is also where I come to see some varied courses here. So we've got some Office 365 ones, as Claire alluded to, these Microsoft courses made by Microsoft all around the Office 365 suite and those bits and pieces. But we got some courses here on staying safe online. Another point worth noting is these are obviously the e-learning courses here, but all courses would show here, whether that's some webinar training, maybe on a classroom session as well. And if there was any prerequisite or online courses or bits and pieces associated to those courses, we can do that through this view as well. But these are obviously e-learning courses that we've got here. Now, pretty self-explanatory along the top here. I can filter on the ones that are in progress. I can see if they've got any due dates. None of these do. But from this view, I can click in. If I see this play button anywhere, it means I can click straight back into that course and complete it. I can view the ones that I've completed. I'm not doing particularly well here. You can see I've got 2 out of 13 actually completed here, but I can track my certificates as well. So from an end user perspective, I could download these certificates, check the validity of these and any dates associated to them, whether that's issued or expiry dates. Again, same for competencies. I can see the validity of them. I can see the date that I achieved them, and I can see any dates that they were revoked or removed from me. These can be associated to courses, whether that's e-learning or classroom based, or maybe these can be associated and added via a line manager if there's maybe some a visual or practical element to any of the learning that's going on rather than a digitized course. But a pretty self-explanatory view. This is where I come to see all of my courses and continue with any of my current training that I've got. Again, we won't touch on it today, but a line manager would have this view, but for the whole of their team as well, and they'd be able to do exactly the same as I can here. Now, moving swiftly on onto the course catalog button here. Now, this is where all of the courses that I have access to based on my role within the organization, because we can filter that via course targeting. This is where I come to find those courses, and this is where those courses live. There we go. In the course catalog, as I've always alluded to, these courses don't have to just be e-learning. They can be classroom based, they can be webinar based, and based on my role within the organization, we can target specific courses to go out to specific users within the course catalog. Now, from this view here, I can filter on any of the categories along the left side here. I can see which course types, as I've mentioned, there could be a varied range there. But within this one, I've only got access to the Microsoft Learning Pathways courses, which we've mentioned already on here.
Sorry, Charlie. Leon just asked a question about where do we get these courses? Can you respond to that one? So
we can put these courses in. I don't know where exactly you'd access them and how exactly they view on your side without LMS 365. Maybe that's a question. I don't know if Travis knows any more on that. From an LMS 365 point of view, it's very simple. You come to us and say, we'd love these courses. There's a small hourly rate that we do just to get them uploaded into your system. But for different systems, Travis, do you know much more on that?
Yeah, so this is Microsoft Learning Pathways, Leon. I will paste the link into your question, but basically it's something which could be ported into a SharePoint online environment to populate some pages. However, the downside is that it's not trackable, but that would be a method of getting access to it so that you could at least publish it and make it available for your learners.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
No, fine. No, that's good. It's good. So just jumping back to this course catalog, then say I really like the look of this Excel course, or maybe I need to brush up on my my Excel knowledge. I can click into this this course here, and what it's going to do is going to show me the course overview. And Microsoft, being Microsoft, their course descriptions are pretty basic. They just name the title of the course within the course description. But you could have a video in there. You know, if you were creating your own courses in this fashion with the LMS 365, you could put like a nice little video or short description. But these are just the basic Microsoft ones. But you can see I've got some course information here. Now this obviously could be maybe some SCORM content that you've got, maybe some video training that you've already got. And with LMS 365 in the native builder, we can build those learning modules and track it exactly as you want it to be displayed and reported on from an end user perspective. Now, I can see all of the learning modules within this course along the left here, because I've already enrolled myself to this course. And what I can do is I can jump through these points on the course syllabus. But if I click this play button here, I can see that I'm 0% through of this course at the moment, whether that's 25%, 33%. It's going to keep track of exactly where I left off last time. So what will happen is I'll go into the body of this course information, and these Microsoft ones, as I mentioned, they're really informative, but they are very regimented in the way that they've created them. So bear in mind, if you were to create your own courses, you could have the flexibility of managing them in exactly the way you want and displaying them exactly the way you want. So we can see here the syllabus is along the left, and that I can move that out of the way, but I think it's a good way of keeping track of exactly where we are. But in this Excel course, you can see that they've embedded a video and followed it up with some step-by-step instructions here. Now, if this course was maybe, these are obviously free to navigate through, but maybe we wanted them to be completed in a specific order, then we can lock these down to say that actually a user has to have gone through each one of these before they can move on to the next module. But just an example here of a course, and as Claire's mentioned and Travis mentioned, these are free from Microsoft. The benefit of having them in LMS 365 is that whatever course I complete and wherever I get to within this course is trackable from a management and a back-end point of view. Likewise, any courses you upload would be treated exactly the same. So that's the course catalog, and as I mentioned, it could be all sorts of content, AICC, you know, PowerPoint, Word, whatever format that you guys have utilizing your training in at the moment. Maybe that's a classroom and you want to turn it into a digital course, then that's certainly an option. Just moving along this top section here, then, as I already alluded to, we can link to a specific training course in the system. This one just so happens to be the Teams training. I won't spend too much time on it because it looks very similar to the Excel, just on a slightly different topic. But the main point of showing this is just saying that we can link to any SharePoint site that we create with LMS 365 through this Teams training here. So as you can see, I got to 100% completed that module, and I could click through and get stuck into any of this learning material that I have in front of me. So the other benefit of, I guess, of having this virtual office that Travis has mentioned, and I know I spend 90% of my time stuck in Teams, is providing a new way of having human-to-human contact. As I know it's in the chat, and that's a preference for some organizations, but putting it online in a way. So maybe in this situation here, we want to do a course together. Maybe Tony, Ross and I want to do a course together. Well, we've got the ability to do that. We could start up a call, as Travis said, a breakout room, something like that. Stick our videos on as we've got today and run through a course together. And each one of our qualifications is going to go down against us to say that we've completed that specific course. Now, maybe this option, as I mentioned, there's a number of ways that we can display this and manage navigation here. Maybe we want to do it slightly differently. Maybe we don't want to have a course catalog displaying those specific courses. Maybe we want to be a little bit more artificial in the way that we do it. Well, what we've got the ability to do here is interact with a chatbot. The chatbot is effectively another way of finding material, rather than maybe going through the course catalog and you know, relying on people to search and filter that way. We've got a chatbot functionality here. So maybe we just want to ask it a question. Maybe we just want it to show e-learning courses. Now, by clicking this, what's going to happen is the chatbot is going to come back to me with a response. If I press send on this, normally in a couple of seconds, and what it's going to do it said, all right, just demo, and it will bring back all of the e-learning courses available to us within the LMS system. Now you can see we've got a number of categories here, so I can filter down on those and navigate through and complete a training without having to go anywhere else. But just a couple of more examples up here. We can even ask it to show my training. We can ask it to show different types of courses, and it will pull back any relevant information to it. Again, I've got a view of my dashboard from here, and I've got a link to any training courses that may be compulsory or mandatory, depending on the actual team itself. Now, conscious of time, I know we're running up a little against it a little bit, but one last thing I sort of always like to make the point of saying is within the LMS 365, there is a load of native reporting available. So we could, from a management level or an L&D perspective, we could pull out reports on courses, users, what needs to be done, what hasn't been done, and we could pull those out to Excel spreadsheets and manipulate it in that way to get the real sort of, for want of a better word, powerful reporting or analytics from the system, keeping track of who's done what, compliance, are we behind in any areas, what do we need to do, are those policies up to date, are we competent in certain areas. Well, rather than reinvent the wheel when it comes to reporting and analytics, we simply leverage Power BI, which some of you, and I'm sure you let me know in the chat, some of you may be aware of or using for different avenues within the business. We can simply hook into the information that's being captured within LMS 365, you know, who's done what, dates, if we need any triggers on those, any geographical locations, we can formulate some pretty useful charts and graphs. But while we're waiting for that to load, I don't know if there's anything in the chat around Power BI. I haven't been watching it myself. Is there any interesting questions, Claire or Travis, that maybe we could answer in the meantime?
Yeah, there was a question about reporting, and it was just in general, how do you track, what can you track and what can you report on was the question. I answered with Power BI, and that you can track and report on everything, as well as being able to use some Excel output reports from the admin section as well of LMS 365. And there's also been some questions about, you know, can we deliver this stuff without LMS 365? And just to make kind of crystal clear, SharePoint and Teams and Office 365 is a fantastic tool for generating and publishing content. And where the gap that you might find just using Office 365 is the ability to assign content and to track who has completed it. And that is really, if you want to boil it all down, what Charlie's talking about here.
Sure, yeah, and that's a really good point, and that's one of the things that comes up all the time, Travis, when we speak to customers is how do we ensure that people have got the right training in front of them, and how do we ensure that they know it's compulsory? Just to give you an idea, these are the standard templates that we've got here, and it sort of gives you an idea of the level of detail that we can have from this dashboard view. But as Travis mentioned, we can report on pretty much all of the information that's captured, and set dashboards, set up alerts, you know, monthly reports, weekly reports on where we are. But I think Power BI is certainly the way to get the most use and power out of that information. That typically is all I like to show at this stage. There's a whole host of functionality and bits and pieces that we haven't had a chance to cover off today. We've concentrated purely on the Teams functionality, and we have to be high level on it because there are so many options when it comes to Teams and the Microsoft suite. I will stop sharing that screen now, and I will share and hand back over to Claire to do any outros. Unless there are any questions in the chat that we can answer now, Travis, you've been keeping a keen eye on that.
Well, I think honestly, with 2 minutes left,
is that all we've got?
I think we're on a bit of a time crunch. I've done my best to reply to the questions that have come up, which we could reply to. So I think in an effort to end at a timely basis, I'd hand over to Claire to wrap us up.
Sure.
All right. Well, just first of all, thank you. Everyone's been really interactive today. We've had some really good questions. If anyone has any other questions, will we be advised of future training sessions? I found this really useful. Yes, that's very much what we'd like to do. If it's okay with you, you've all signed up to join the session today, and we'll keep you updated on any future sessions we've got coming up. If you would like to talk about your own specific scenario, then ping stacey.king@essential.co.uk, and she will help coordinate a session with either Travis, Charlie, or me to have more of a discussion about your specific requirements, because as Charlie said, we need to keep these quite broad brush and top level in order to share. If you have any ideas for subject matter you'd like to hear more about, then drop us a line. We'll do our best to accommodate. We've got a couple of sessions coming up in September. We very much have a theme here at Essential around really managing business process in the flow of your normal working environment in Office 365. We have a session on the 17th, which might be more relevant to business analysts, legal compliance and management, around building business process and document management into Office 365 and really layering on in a similar kind of manner. And then on Thursday, the 24th, a really hot topic at the moment, managing the return to the office. We're seeing a huge flood of organisations at the moment, really trying to figure out what their plan is for managing people returning to the office. And that's a bit of learning and education there, a bit of policy and process, and also a bit of practicality. How do I book a desk? How do I know where is available for me to go and work? And how do I know you're going to keep it safe for me? So we're going to be talking about that subject on the 24th of September, and we will share those links to those sessions, and we'd love to see you or relevant colleagues on those. It sounds like today's gone down really well. We will be in touch and share ideas and hopefully invite you to some further learning-based topics in the future. Thank you very much, everyone. And thanks, Travis and Charlie.
Thanks all.
Yeah, thanks. My pleasure.
Have a great afternoon, everyone. Take care.
Thanks all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.